Evening, if we can call the meeting of the Board of Adjustments to order, please. And if we can have roll call.
Ms. Turner,
Present.
Ms. Rich,
Present.
Mr. Boris,
Here.
and Mr. Grossman.
Mr. Gross, it wasn't recorded, he
Sorry.
said present. Given our anemic-looking board, if we'll have Mr. Grossman, our alternate, come forward. Thank you, sir.
Here.
And if our attorney can please read our quasi-judicial statement and swear in any speakers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The matters before the City of Tarpon Springs Board of Adjustment are quasi-judicial in nature. In a quasi-judicial proceeding, the board's function is to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the City of Tarpon Springs' Code of Ordinances. This is a legal decision regarding the application before the board. The board may only consider evidence that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues arising from the application in the applicable code sections. If the evidence demonstrates the applicant meets the criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances, then the board is required to approve the application. If the evidence demonstrates that the applicant does not meet the criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances, then the board is required to deny the application. Any and all persons providing testimony at this hearing are required to do so under oath. All persons testifying at this hearing must give their name, address, and must indicate whether or not they have been sworn for the record prior to proceeding with their testimony. All testimony and questioning at this hearing must address matters that are relevant and material to the issues under consideration based on the criteria established in the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances. If any board member has disclosures regarding an application, please make those disclosures on the record at the beginning of the hearing to which they pertain. This includes ex parte communications or voting conflicts of interest. The following is the established procedure which will be followed in this quasi-judicial hearing. The city staff will present its testimony and evidence regarding the applicant first. The applicant will then have an opportunity to ask questions and cross-examine the staff and any city witnesses. The applicant will then have the opportunity to present its witnesses and evidence. The city will have the opportunity to cross-examine the applicant and any of the applicant's witnesses. Members of the public opposing the application will be given the opportunity to present their testimony and evidence. Members of the public in support of the application will be given the opportunity to provide their testimony and evidence. The applicant and then the city may present any rebuttal testimony and evidence in a closing statement of summary. And finally, the board will close the public hearing for discussion and consideration of the application. At this time, for anyone desiring to speak on any matter before the City of Tarpon Springs Board of Adjustment, please stand to receive the oath. Do you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth on the matters before the Tarpon Springs Board of Adjustment this evening?
I do.
Again, remember, anyone coming up to speak at the podium, please state your name, address, and whether or not you have received the oath.
Thank you, sir. So we will begin with application number 23-43, which is a variance to reduce the required rear yard setback for the purpose of constructing an addition onto an existing single-family home, property located at 410 West Lemon Street. If Ms. Keene can present the presentation on behalf of the staff.
Allie Keene, Planning and Zoning Department, Principal Planner, and everyone please bear with me as my voice may come and go throughout this meeting tonight. The subject property is located off of West Lemon Street. It's outlined in yellow here on the screen. This property is located within the RM Residential Multifamily Zoning District, primarily the same zoning district to the east, west, and north, and then to the south is the R60 1 and 2 family residential zoning. The applicants are here today requesting variance approval to reduce the required rear yard setback for the purpose of constructing an addition onto the existing single-family home on the subject property. They are proposing a rear setback of 8.8 feet, whereas 20 feet is required. This is a look at the proposed site plan. The existing home footprint is shaded in the light blue here. The proposed addition is in the outlined red dotted line here. It's approximately 145 square feet in area. And again, they're proposing a setback of 8.8 feet to the rear property line. The RM zoning district refers to the R70 setback standards for single-family residential. And again, that requires a minimum 20-foot rear setback. For note, the existing single-family home has a rear setback of 8.1 feet, which is shown here. One thing to point out on this property is it's a little unique. When you pull all of the required setback lines, which is represented here in the purple dashed line, you can see that really any sort of addition to this home would be challenging to meet the current setback standards in the Land Development Code. Looking at a little bit of site history of this property is a non-conforming lot. It's actually a portion of a historic lot that was platted back in 1914, well before any zoning regulations were put in place for the city. Again, the RM zoning refers to the CRM district for the lot standards in this case, and it requires a minimum lot area of 7,000 square feet. The subject property is just over 4,100 square feet in size, so it's non-conforming in lot area. This district also requires a minimum lot depth of 80 feet, and this has a site average of 57 feet in depth, so it also is non-conforming in lot depth. The existing home was constructed back in 1930, again predating any sort of zoning requirements in the city, and the existing rear setback is 8.1 feet, which is less than the 20-foot requirement today. This property is also located within the local historic district. The applicants did go before the Heritage Preservation Board back in April of this year for a certificate of approval for the proposed addition. The board did approve the addition, however, they had a condition that that new addition would be offset 6 inches from the north elevation, and that was for the purpose of reducing visual impacts to the historic structure. So that's why the applicants are having an offset from the existing setback from the north property line. And what you see today here is compliant with that condition. With that, these are your review standards, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Keene? No. Okay. So if we could have the applicant, if the applicant's present, to come forward to the podium.
Hello, I'm John Shafchuk, 410 West Lemon Street, and I have been sworn in. I'm one of the owners of the property, and I don't think I could put it any better than what I read in the statement that Ally presented and the numbered adjustments that she wrote. I think there's 5 in there that she referred to. Those were the same points that I was going to make, so I don't feel like I need to go back over those. Just to reiterate, though, I do think the property is going to be enhanced and increase in value because of adding this addition. We're also doing a number of other improvements to the house as far as the exterior goes. And our neighbor, Jackie Kilrain, who, if you look, she lives her house is behind our house. So if you look at this, all those structures directly behind our house are Jackie Kilrain's. So she would be the most impacted neighbor with this addition going on. And she has provided a letter saying that she is fine with the addition going on, if I may share that.
Yes. You can, if you want to, you can either read it into the record or you can provide it to the chair.
Okay, I can read it. It's very short. To whom it may concern, My name is Jackie Kilrain, and I own 111 Bay Street. As I stated at the original meeting for my neighbors' renovations, I have no objections to the renovations they are doing on their property. What they have done so far has only enhanced the neighborhood, and I am certain what they will do in the future will do the same. Sincerely, Jackie Kilrain, 111 Bay Street, Tarpon Springs. And she includes her phone number. What she is referring to, the original meeting, she also attended the Heritage Board meeting earlier in April, and also at that meeting said that she was fine with the addition being added on. I'd like to thank you for your time, your consideration. I really appreciate it, and I hope you will grant our variance.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, and appreciate your neighbor's letter as well. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
No, but I have a question. Do we have a copy of that letter on file?
I was just gonna, we do not have it from before the meeting, but if I can get a copy of the letter before you leave tonight.
You just need one?
Yes, just one's fine.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Grossman.
That's it.
Ms. Rich, did you have a question?
Just when we came to our seats, there was also another letter that came in after our packet, so that was also another neighbor I'm just making sure that was this application, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
we did receive an email within the last week or so, just stating they have no objection to the proposed addition.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know about that one.
So if there are no other questions for the applicant, if we could have anyone from the public, if you wanted to make any comments for or against this application, now is the time. Okay, seeing none. So we will close the public comment. Is there any discussion among the board regarding this application?
None.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call?
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Boris?
Yes.
Ms. Rich?
Yes.
And Ms. Turner?
Yes. So, happy building.
Well, thank you. Have a good day. Oh, yeah.
All right, moving on. Our next application is number 23-119, which is a variance to allow non-conforming lots of record to be built upon for the purpose of constructing a single-family home on each lot. The properties are located on the east side of North Avenue, approximately 157 feet north of the Mango Street intersection. Ms. Keene, if you can
Okay.
present for us.
All right. Again, this property is located on the east side of North Avenue. It's outlined in yellow here on the screen, just north of Mango Street. This property, as well as the properties to the north, west, and south, are in the RM Residential Multifamily Zoning District, and immediately to the east is the MHP, or Mobile Home Park District. The Land Development Code states that if at any time the owner of a nonconforming lot of record owns adjoining land, the lot shall be combined to meet the minimum requirements of the Land Development Code. This property is comprised of 7 historically platted lots, lots 7 to the north, 8, and 9. And the applicants are requesting variance approval to allow the 3 nonconforming lots that are under common ownership to be considered separate buildable lots. They intend to build a single-family home on each lot. The RM zoning district, again, refers to the CRM district for lot dimensional standards. It requires a minimum lot area of 7,000 square feet and a minimum lot width of 60 feet. The subject properties are just over 6,600 square feet in area and only 50 feet wide, so they're non-conforming in both area and in width. Looking at the site history of the properties, they were originally platted in 1952 as a part of the Toby Acres subdivision. It was within the R4 zoning district at that time, and it only required a minimum lot area of 4,000 square feet, so they were platted legally. In 1976, a new land development code went into effect. The properties were then put into the RO district, which had a minimum lot area of 7,000 square feet and minimum width of 50 feet, so they became non-conforming in lot area. According to the Pinellas County Property Appraiser records, these properties have been under common ownership since at least 1981. Although they've been under the common ownership for that entire time, and currently at this time, they have never been developed and they are vacant. In 1990, our current land development code went into effect, placing these properties within the RM district, again requiring a lot area of 7,000 square feet and a minimum lot width of 60 feet. So now the lots are non-conforming in area and width. The applicant purchased these properties in 2023, and again, they're intending to build a single-family home on each property. This is looking at the North Avenue lots. I've turned the map here, and north is pointing to the right. And you can see that these are all generally platted exactly the same configuration, 50-foot wide, about 6,600 square feet in area. A majority of these lots along this street have been developed in their historic configuration, so one home on one individual lot. There are a few, such as this one at the corner and these two here, that are comprised of 2 or 3 historic lots, but for the most part, this street has developed in its historic platted configuration. And these are your review standards for non-conforming lots of record, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions for Ms. Keene?
I have a question. Are we being, these lots were put together under common ownership previously? Or are they under, is it one lot now? And we're being asked to grant the separation of the lots? Is that?
Essentially, yes. So these properties have been owned by the same property owner since 1981, and they are currently under the same property ownership as the applicant owns all 3 properties. How the code is written, it says that if you have non-conforming lots, they need to be combined so that they can be conforming with the current standards. In this case, there's a mechanism for the board to approve non-conforming lots of record that were legally platted to be recognized in their historic formats, which is what they're asking today.
Okay, so right now they're one lot, and we're being asked to make them 3 lots again?
Correct, recognize the historic layout, correct.
Okay.
That was my question.
Yes.
So then what if whatever the decision we make this evening would apply to lots 7, 8, 9?
Correct.
Through one motion and action?
Correct. And just for clarification, that if the board approves the request, they still would be required to comply with the current setback standards today, so they would still have to meet the setbacks that we have under the Land Development Code for the RM district. So it's just granting each lot to be buildable separate.
Okay, all right, thank you for the clarification. Is there a member from Habitat, the applicant, present who would like to speak? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Boris?
That's okay, I have a question. The adjacent lots are of the same size?
I believe they're exactly the same size. Yeah, 50 by 1.
Okay, okay.
35.
Thank you.
I have one more
Yes, sir.
question. So the lot size is the 6612 square feet each, and the required is 7,000. So the requirement of 7,000 is if we agree to make them 3 separate lots, or is it?
So what you would be recognizing is that these are buildable properties being less than 7,000 square feet in size. So say someone came in for this, it wasn't platted ever in the past, and they were coming in, they wanted to create new lots. They would have to at least be 7,000 square feet in area and 60 feet wide along the street frontage to be a compliant lot, conforming. Because these do not meet that, that's why they're considered non-conforming. And because they were platted historically in the past, that's why they have this mechanism to go through the board to request them to be buildable.
So right now, the 3 are conforming. Then if we vote to separate them, they would be non-conforming, and then they would just be 400 square feet shy of the 7,000.
So they're considered non-conforming right now.
Okay.
So you're just basically recognizing them as buildable non-conforming lots.
Okay. Thank
But
you.
yes, 400 square feet shy of what they should be.
And 10 feet.
And 10 feet narrower, yes.
The rear setback is 20 feet. What about the side setback?
I believe it's 7.5 feet.
Okay, so it's buildable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir?
Ken Rush, COO at Habitat for Humanity. Thank you for this evening of listening to our case. So we bought these from a private owner. They actually were all combined, owned by the same owner since 1981, as Ali had mentioned. The lots are 50 by 127, which I can tell you through Pinellas County is a very standard size lot everywhere you go theoretically. They were platted as buildable lots of record in 1952. We knew that when we bought in, the price was too good to pass up. And our hope is that we can build 3 single-family houses. We've already matched them with homeowners. We actually have building permits sitting, waiting to be picked up. We do meet all the setback requirements. These lots have actually been separated per 3 parcel IDs. So currently they do have 3 completely separate parcel IDs. They are not under 1 parcel ID. So that was done prior to our purchase as well. So we are just asking permission to move forward with our construction and get 3 new families in the city of Tarpon Springs.
Thank you, sir. Are there,
Actually, sir, I just want to confirm, sir, your address
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
you're under oath.
Yes, Ken Rush, my address 13355 49th Street, and yes, I did take the oath. Thank you, sire.
thank you for the clarification, particularly with the parcel IDs. Any questions for our applicant? Okay, are there anyone in the public who wishes to address this application? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. If we can move for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
Motion and second, we roll call?
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Boris?
Yes.
Ms. Rich?
Yes.
And Ms. Turner?
Yes. So thank you so much for all the work that you do, and it's an honor to be able to be a tiny little part of your service.
You're more than you know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, our next application, number 23-120, which is a variance to reduce the required rear yard setback for the purpose of constructing a detached garage, property located at 1208 Lagoon Road.
All right. Okay, the property, again, is outlined in yellow here on the screen, off of Lagoon Road. This whole entire neighborhood is within the R70 1 and 2 family residential zoning district. It does have land conservation zoning to the north, which is the A.L. Anderson Park. The applicants are here today requesting a variance to reduce the rear yard setback for the purpose of constructing a 2-story detached 2-car garage. They are proposing a rear setback of 10 feet, whereas 20 feet is required. One thing that's important to note with this particular application is Land Development Code Section 23.04 in regards to submerged land. All the area that I've shaded here is submerged land in red. And this section of the code states that any submerged land shall not be credited as a part of any required yard or setback. So in this particular case, we are measuring the rear setback from the center of the seawall as opposed to the rear property line like you typically would see. This is a look at the proposed site plan. The applicants have an existing 1-car, 1-story detached garage in the same approximate location as where they're proposing to build a new 2-car garage. It's 2 stories. It's approximately 28 square feet in size. They're proposing the 2nd story to be utilized as a guest suite and some additional living space for their families and their hobbies. They are proposing to connect the proposed garage to the existing single-family home with a covered breezeway here. The site plan also includes a proposed deck off of the 2nd story here. One thing to note is staff did notice that the deck does encroach into the proposed 10-foot setback. So if the board does approve the variance request, we do recommend a condition that requires the deck to be redesigned to meet the proposed 10-foot setback. There are a few things to note for this particular property in regards to locating the structure on the site. There are some limitations. One being there's a very large existing driveway, circular driveway here. There's an existing septic tank and drainage field in the center of the circular drive. Obviously, the waterfront and the angled rear yard. And then along the northeast side of the property, there's several mature trees. I tried to take a pictometry image just so you can see the extensive foliage on that side of the property. You can also see in this picture the existing home, and this right here, a little hard to see, is the existing 1-story garage that they are proposing to remove and rebuild with the new structure. Again, they are required a minimum 20-foot setback, and they're proposing 10 feet for the new garage. Zooming out and looking at the context, this property and several properties front the same Lake Tarpon Canal. It is important to note that there are several structures similar to what the applicants are proposing, including their existing garage, that do encroach into the required rear setbacks along the canal frontage. One of particular is the property adjacent to the north. Back in 2003, they did receive a variance to build the actual home with a 5-foot rear setback from their seawall. So it's not atypical for some of these structures to be closer to the waterfront than typically allowed. These are your review standards, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Keene? Mr. Grossman?
I do. since the structure's, it's gonna be a two-story structure, it's gonna be close, very close to the water. If we should say yes and approve this, we're in no way making any kind of determination or agreement that it's safe to do that. Since it's so, I mean, I don't know if the land can give way from the weight, and have they had structural engineering reports that it's okay to do that, or?
So correct, you're not necessarily deeming that it is, they can build this here structurally safely. You're just looking at the setback. When they get to the permitting stage, that's when all the engineering documents are required, as well as their detailed construction plans. And then the city staff will look at that for compliance with all of our requirements.
So we're just saying, if we say okay, we're just saying okay to the distance, not the safety or the.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, what is the square footage?
Approximately 728 square feet.
Okay, so if it's set as a two-car garage, and then we have a second floor suite, which one is it?
So the two-car garage is going to be on the ground story,
I
and then
understand-
the
I
suite will be on the
understand
second
that.
story.
How come it's not set up as residential on the second floor? Why are we setting it as a two-car garage and not residential?
Well, so because there's an existing single-family home. If we looked at this as an individual residential structure, the zoning wouldn't allow for two residential structures. So for example, the second story can really only be like bedroom space or living space. They can't have a full kitchen. It can't be considered a separate living unit. So it's from the zoning perspective, it's a detached garage with living space above.
So with a bedroom, let's say, somebody to sleep in without a kitchen or anything like that, is that the
Correct.
idea?
Yes.
So there's no distinction here of anything like that?
Right, no, so they would not be able to, and that was something that I talked to the applicant ahead of time, was what were they planning to use the second story for? And I think we've talked about this in some of our past meetings for accessory dwelling units. And what the main distinction between an actual full living unit is if there's a full kitchen. And what that comes down to is there a stove in there. The applicants have indicated they're not putting a full kitchen in this. It's really just for guests to come and stay and for them to spend time in.
So it's a mini room for one person
Yeah.
to live there?
Yes.
So are we getting away with the two-car garage and be able to build that on upstairs? Is that the idea?
So you're allowed to build, if they say they met the 20-foot square or setback, they could build this. There's no special requirement for it.
All I need, thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Rich?
Yeah, because I was thinking back, and I can't remember what the magic square footage number is.
That couple months ago, right.
600,
yes.
or is it 600?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And is there a bathroom allowed? Okay.
Yes.
So it's just the kitchen?
Right. It's
Okay.
what, it comes down to the definition of the living unit, and it comes to the full kitchen, and it's a stove is the main distinction.
Okay.
But if they did have a full kitchen, then those accessory dwelling unit requirements would come into play. So they would be limited to 600 square feet. They'd have to have a covenant recorded. So there's some standards that would come into play. And a lot of times when we say we get to the permitting stage, we look at the floor plans and we see that, wait, this has a full living statement, then we'd have to go back and look at it. So there are some avenues in place.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this does stay within the definition of an accessory unit.
Accessory structure.
Accessory structure, excuse me. Thank you.
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Is the applicant present?
I have another.
Oh, and while you come up, Mr. Grossman?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so just a couple of notations and clarifications. So some of the setbacks and the distances have been affected by the city requiring the septic field to be moved, or so some of this is created by the city saying, hey, you got to move this septic area, and that's creating some of the.
So that provides some site limitations. There was an existing septic on the property and they had to move it. The current location is here. So what that basically does, it just limits the location of where the structure can go. So they could obviously not come too close or on top of this area to meet the setback requirements. It's just a consideration with the variance.
Okay, and then one of the other considerations is a disabled relative needs a ramp. That's why the configuration is kind of like that too?
So that is provided by the applicant. That unfortunately is not something that we can consider for the criteria,
Okay.
but the applicant has provided that additional information.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Sir?
My name is Barry Ullman, architect, 615 South Missouri Avenue, Clearwater. I'm representing the McKinneys in this. To address your one comment about the structural issue,
Sir, sorry, have you also, excuse me, sir?
oh, yes, I did receive the oath.
Thank you.
Excuse me. We had Brown Testing Labs do a double boring out there already, and they have made recommendations for the foundation of this structure being placed where it is on the site in reference to the water table and the closeness of the lagoon canal.
Sounds like a good idea. I just wanted to make sure we weren't saying it was okay to build it there, and if something happened,
Right.
and you say,
No.
hey, you said it was okay.
They've given us specific things to follow in doing the foundation, and we won't know the exact outcome of that until we start digging the foundation
Okay,
and see where the water table really is, because it fluctuates.
all right, thank you for that.
Anyway, Ms. Keene described the property very well. The septic drain field originally was towards the back of the house, but years ago it was requested to be moved out front. So that created this circular driveway effect out front. And we can't, with the angled property line in the back, or the water line in the back, we're limited as to where that garage can be placed. So if we went further to the left in your thing up, in your diagram, in the diagram up here, there's mature trees over there in the way of the drive. So we want to keep it closer to the existing house and connected with a covered breezeway so that in inclement weather, they can get from the house to there. The circular drive also permits the van for the disabled relative that has a ramp on it to have better access to the house.
Does anyone have any questions of the applicant?
One more.
Applicant's representative?
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. One more question. The deck that you want, was there any extenuating reasons for the size and location of the deck?
Well, again, we have to find a way to get to the second story there. And there wasn't really room inside the garage to put an interior stair. They preferred the exterior stair to a deck. They want to be able to sit up there, look down the canal, because they love the view. So you have to go up the stairs to the deck to enter the second story. And I originally designed it with an extra, trying to grab another 2 feet over the corner, but we're gonna pull that back to 9 feet so that there's no intrusion into the 10-foot setback that's being granted today, hopefully.
So you're agreeing with the staff to
Yes,
make the change? Okay.
yes, that's correct.
Okay. And on that, the clarification on the deck, is that, so the deck is at the second story level?
Yes,
Understand? Okay.
Yes.
And because we do have in our report here, which it sounds like Ms. Keene has shared with you, the staff recommendation that the proposed deck layout would be modified to comply with that 10-foot setback. So
That is
you're
correct.
verbally saying that that is your intention if you were granted?
yes, I've already done a sketch for them, telling them that it's gonna be 9 feet out the back, not 11.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, I had one other question because so it looks like it's, there's the existing one-car garage. So is this proposed project going to be expanding that into a 2-car?
The existing structure is wood frame.
Okay,
It has some deterioration in it. It's easier to take it down and then replace it with a new two-car garage. That's only a single-car garage that's sitting there now. But again, like I said, it's wood framed. The new structure will be masonry. on the
okay.
ground
In the
floor.
general vicinity, I mean, obviously not the exact
It's
same
almost,
footprint.
the existing one is sitting right smack underneath the middle of that one.
Okay,
Obviously, this is a larger structure than the one that is existing.
all right, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you for your clarification. Is there anyone present that would like to make any comments regarding this application? Okay, seeing none. So we've closed a public comment. Any other comments or questions from our board this evening before we move forward with a motion? No, okay. Any motion?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion on application 23-120 to approve the motion as with the staff's recommended changes.
Okay. And to clarify, Mr. Grossman, that is a motion to approve with the condition that the proposed deck layout shall be modified to comply with the 10-foot rear setback.
Thank you for that clarification, Ms. Chairwoman.
So do we have a second on that clarified motion?
I second it.
Okay. And may we have roll call?
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Boris?
Yes.
Ms. Rich?
Yes.
Ms. Turner?
Yes. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to our final application for the evening, number 23-127, which is a variance to allow a balcony that encroaches into the side street setback to be wider than permitted. The location is the northeast corner of West Lemon Street and Bath Street. Ms. Keene?
Okay. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. This property, again outlined in yellow here on the screen, is at the northeast corner of Bath Street and West Lemon Street. All the properties in the surrounding area, including the subject property in the R60 1 and 2 family residential zoning district. The applicants are requesting variance approval to allow a second-story balcony that encroaches into the required setback to be wider than 10 feet as a part of the construction of a new home on the subject property. The property is currently vacant, and the applicants are proposing to build a new home at that location. The applicants are proposing the balcony on the second story to extend the entire width of the home. It's approximately 48.67 feet in width, whereas the code would allow a maximum width of 10 feet. Land Development Code Section 38 allows for various yard encroachments, and what that means is there are certain structures or design elements that can extend into a required setback. Particularly, it allows balconies that are no wider than 10 feet to encroach up to 3 feet into a required setback. So the area on the site plan that we're referring to is shaded here in blue. So this is the balcony that extends into the setback. The required setback for this district is 7.5 feet. The balcony is proposed at 5.19 feet, so it does meet that allowed 3-foot encroachment. However, it obviously is wider than 10 feet in width, so it extends the entire width to connect the front deck to the rear deck of the property, provides circulation around the entire structure on the second story. The applicant has provided some elevations to help provide some more context for you. The property is within a floodplain, so they are proposing to elevate the living space of the property to the second story. They'll be parking on the ground story. So the balcony is really providing circulation around the entire livable space of the home. The applicants have indicated that the connection allows for some safer fire access in the event of emergency, as well as to improve some of the aesthetics along the Bath Street frontage. So the area this is the Lemon Street frontage, and this portion outlined in orange is the portion of the balcony that the variance pertains to, just for context. And this is the Bath Street frontage, and again, it extends the entire width of the home, so the area in orange is the portion of the balcony that the variance pertains to. One of the considerations with this application is that the property is located within the local historic district. The local historic district boundary was expanded in 2010 to include the Fruit Bowl neighborhood, which this property is located in. It also requires all new construction to get Heritage Preservation Board approval. The applicants actually got their certificate of approval last week at the November 6th meeting for the proposed new construction home. It did include the same elevations and design that you were reviewing today with the balcony. With the review of that application for the historic aspect, staff was in support of the proposed balcony. One, we felt that it would enhance the overall street frontage along Bath Street. It helped provide additional dimension for an elevated structure because they had to prop the main living space to the second story. And we also felt that it was consistent with the surrounding historical character and is similar to some contributing structures that are within the vicinity. One other consideration to point out is site visibility, which you are all well aware of, but for all intersections and driveways, the Land Development Code requires clear sight triangles. So I've shown the intersection of Bath Street and Lemon Street triangle here, and there's an existing driveway along the north property line, and this is the site visibility triangle here. The code requires a clear sight distance between 3 and 8 feet within those triangle areas. It does, however, exempt any sort of posts or similar structures that are less than 6 inches in diameter. You'll notice that a portion of the proposed balcony does extend into the site visibility triangle. However, the posts are 5.5 inches in width, or in diameter, so they're in the exemption. And also the base of the deck is 9 feet above grade, so it's outside the 8-foot limitation. This will be further verified at the permitting stage, but we wanted you to be aware that, yes, it does encroach into the triangle, however, it complies with all the exemptions. Again, your review standards, and I can answer your questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Grossman?
So the site triangle, the deck does go encroach into it, but is the site triangle a safety issue for cars to see, or is it an aesthetic issue?
It's for visibility, so cars, pedestrians, bicyclists at the intersections and driveways. So yes, it's at 9 feet above grade, whereas if it was at 8 feet or lower, that's when they would have to modify design.
So you can see under it, so it doesn't present a problem?
Correct.
And then the historical board has approved it as we're looking at it?
Yes, and you'll notice in your staff report that these were kind of running simultaneously together. So you saw that we had a recommended condition that they get their certificate of approval. However, they did receive that last week at the meeting, so we do not have any additional conditions.
So there's other similar homes with similar features and construction and?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Keene? Okay. This one, the slide with the blue. So what is the, how deep is this porch? The proposed second-story walkway?
The site plan, I'll have to.
And that might be, the applicant may.
Yeah,
know
they may be
that.
able to tell you how wide it is. It's on there, I just can't read it on this screen. And I can verify that too when the applicant comes up.
Okay. And I appreciate your description, because when I was reading the first couple pages, it's like lots of various numbers. So you did a great job demystifying all of the numbers and codes and requirements. Thank you.
Step by step.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay, if we have the applicant present.
Brian Gloss, 524 Rebstock Road, Boulevard in Palm Harbor, and I have been sworn in. I appreciate you reviewing our proposed house. We're kind of excited to adding a attractive home that meets the historical guidelines in Tarpon Springs on that property, which will be our residence that my wife and I will retire in. The reason that we've put the walkway there was twofold. Again, I think aesthetically it makes the street not be just such a flat structure against the street. It'll put some dimension to it, as well as just create some functionality and some safety, as we have a handicapped daughter and have several grandchildren that'll be there. So it'll just give more room for them to move around without being risked.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, sir, maybe you could clarify, what is the, how deep is the porch? Ish?
I would say it's probably about 4 feet.
Okay, so it's like you were describing more of that walkway.
Yes.
As opposed to
It's not going to be
living, lounging with a
space
big
for
table and all of
chairs
that.
Yes,
right.
no, that's in the front and the back. There's some space for that.
Right, okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much for your presentation. And anyone from,
Can I just ask
public?
one thing?
Oh, of
I'm
course.
sorry. I didn't understand at the beginning, the current lot, was the previous home already removed?
I don't believe that there may have been one. If there was, it's way back.
So it's vacant right now? Okay.
It's vacant. It's been empty for some time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
so if seeing no other questions, we'll close the public comment. Are there any other board comments or questions? Okay, if we may have a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion on application 23-127 to approve as submitted.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and roll call, please.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Boris?
Yes.
Ms. Rich?
Yes.
Ms. Turner?
Yes. So, looking forward to seeing the home come up. Very exciting.
We're glad to steal you from Palm Harbor. Welcome to Tarpon Springs.
Yes.
Oh. Okay. We're back. Well, welcome back.
Yes, welcome back.
All right, so we have lots of minutes brought before us for approval. July 26, August 23, September 27, and October 25. It looks like we'll take these individually. If we can have a motion for July 26.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, second? Any?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Boris?
Yes.
Ms. Rich?
Yes.
And Ms. Turner?
Yes. All right, how about August 23? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second?
I can second it. I was here. I wasn't here. Can I?
Yes, you can.
You
Okay.
actually can.
Yes, I second it.
And roll call, please?
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Boris?
Yes.
Ms. Rich?
Yes.
And Ms. Turner?
Yes. All right. How about September 27th? Do we have a motion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Discussion. So on page 2 and the findings of fact, I believe that these represent the findings of fact that the staff made, but that's not how we voted. So I need clarification. In the minutes that we're going to vote on now, do we put in the information that the staff had put in, or do we enter in the information as we determined it because we voted differently than the staff recommendations? This represents what the staff said.
Okay, you're talking, was it September 27th, or did you go back to the August 23? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm on sorry.
Which minutes are you talking about?
July 2.
I'm on September 27th.
Okay.
On page 2, the findings of fact. My apologies. Findings of fact, page 2 on September 27th.
Are you saying the motion, it says the motion was passed. Are you saying the motion wasn't passed?
No,
Because it's fine to put the staff, sometimes that is included in our minutes. What the people get is what's signed by the chair later that gets filed is different than our minutes. So the main thing is the motion, whether or not the variance was approved or not, and who voted
Which way?
which way. So and it says to approve the application as presented to include the staff condition. So if that's what we did, it doesn't matter if the staff's findings were in there or not.
Yeah, my question was that, the staff said we did not meet any of the conditions, and then we determined that we did meet them, but this says that still has the staff recommendation that we did not meet them.
So if I could interject real quick, Ms. Rich, you're correct. So the minutes are basically documenting the meeting. So this is the portion of the meeting where staff was giving their presentation, then it went to the applicant, then the public, then the motion. We put together the notice of decision, which is the official document that the chair signs, excuse me. And in that, I revised the findings to reflect what the board's decision was. I'm happy to share those with you if you'd like clarification for it. But yes, we do fix the notice that's signed to represent what you guys decided.
Thank you.
And the chair signs those.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
So please remind my feeble mind where we left off. We had a motion and a second, but did we?
Don't believe we had
For
a motion or second on this one yet.
We haven't had a motion or second. We just said went to discussion. So
Okay.
you need a motion.
I'll
Thank
make
you.
a motion to approve September minutes.
27,
I
okay?
second it.
And do we have roll call? September 27.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Boris?
Yes.
Ms. Rich,
Yes.
and Ms. Turner.
Yes. And our final set for October 25th, do we have a motion?
No, I do have a correction.
Okay, page,
Page 3. And I'm not sure when it goes from page 2 to page 3. It skips from like number 3 to number 6, approval of minutes. It has me as saying yes, and I was not present at this meeting. So my name shouldn't be on there.
on item number 6 of the approval of minutes, correct?
Right, but I just wasn't sure if this was the right page that went with these minutes because of the numbering. So I thought maybe,
I see where you're going because I did question that. The staff clarified in that meeting because we were approving minutes from May 24th. They were catching up, as you can see.
Right.
Since we were approving minutes today, July, because that was the case, wasn't it? We
Yes.
approved minutes for May 24.
Yes,
last
okay,
month.
so I see where you're talking about the subject numbers are misnumbered. So approval of minutes should actually be number 4 because we only had one application on that meeting. And then, yes, we'll remove your name and I believe,
so I should be removed
it should be
from the
Mr.
vote.
Oboski's, should be in that place.
Okay,
We will make those adjustments.
thank you. So I can make a motion to approve the minutes as amended. If,
Yes, because I was scribbling on what they should be, so a motion to approve as amended, reflecting approval of minutes, item number 4, staff comments, item 5, board comments, item 6, adjournment, number 7, and amended to note in
remove my name.
item 4, strike Miss Rich and replace with Mr. Urbowski.
That's what I have as well.
Motion to approve as amended and scribbled is
Yes.
what Ms. Rich has said. Do we have a second on the scribbling?
Second it.
Okay, and a roll call?
Mr. Grossman,
Yes.
Mr. Boris,
Yes.
Ms. Rich,
Yes.
and Ms. Turner.
Yes. Okay, do we have any comments from our staff this evening?
Comments today.
Feel better?
Yeah.
I actually feel much better, I just can't talk.
Okay.
Actually, this was really good, I was surprised I made the whole meeting, so, thank you.
Okay, and any comments from our board?
You think we'll have a meeting next month?
I believe we do. Yes, we had applications on November, so yes, I believe we have at least one application.
And has Mr. Urbowski now retired officially, so we won't be seeing him, no official send-off?
Yeah, he had his send-off last month.
Oh, I missed it. I missed the send-off?
I mean,
It was sneaky.
Okay.
We had the cake, we had
Oh, we had the
flowers,
cake?
we had
Okay.
everything.
all right.
Yes,
Thank
all
you.
without you, Ms. Rich.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
So for that December meeting where we believe there is an application, do we have a date?
I can get that to you. Okay, it is December 20th, so it's the
December
third Wednesday.
Okay. We have nothing else going on in our lives in that time, do we? I know all of y'all are just sitting around twiddling your thumbs as well.
Exactly.
That's all right, it's
It'll
good.
be a send-off to the holidays.
Yes. Okay,
But yes, like I said, I believe we have at least one application.
Okay. Well, we will be here. And again, thank you, Mr. Grossman, for stepping up this evening as we look to fill all of our seats with however the commission deems, whenever that comes before their agenda. All right, so if we can then adjourn at 7:25.
Was there a motion?
Didn't know we needed, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
bam. So I will sign all but the one that we scribbled.